Yep. One birthday special that I had to do, and that's all it. And I'm done for today. And I'm done for today. Let's do it now, because I had to make sure it don't even work for everybody else. Shelton Jackson Lee was born in Atlanta, Georgia, the son of Jacqueline Carroll Shelton, I think, a teacher of arts and black literature, and William James Edward Lee the sec was it William James Edward Lee the third, a jazz musician and a composer. Lee has three younger siblings, like Joey, David, and Sinke, each of whom has worked in many different positions. Each of whom has worked in many different positions in Lee's films. Director Malcolm D. Lee, who was like a cousin of his, when he was a child, the family moved from Atlanta to Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, the family moved from Georgia to New York. You know what I mean? That's my from Atlanta. That's what two people do. That's what family does. See, they already moved away from like state to state. They moving from Atlanta, Georgia to Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn, New York. That's what Biggie grew. That's what Biggie Smalls grew up. Biggie Smalls was born in Brooklyn. He grew up in Brooklyn. But Spike's I mean Shelton's mom nicknamed him Spike. Spike is like a nickname that was during the childhood that of his anyways. That was Spike, his mom nicknamed him that. Is his mother Jacqueline nicknamed him. Yeah, yeah, that's what happened. His Shelton's mom Jacqueline nicknamed him Spike during his childhood anyway. So Shelton attended John Dewey High School in Brooklyn in its Gravesend neighborhood. That was in Brooklyn's Gravesend neighborhood. And what Lee will do, he will be enrolled in Morehouse College. So he is a historically black college in Atlanta. It's where he made his first student film. It's called The Last Hustle in Brooklyn, or LHIB or LHB, Last Hustle in Brooklyn. He took film courses at Clark University. It was Clark Atlanta. It was at Georgia's at Georgia's Clark Atlanta University. That's right, Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia, and he graduated with a BA in mass communication from Morehouse College. He did graduate work at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, where he earned a Master of Fine Arts in film and television. Until the 80s came in, the early 80s, in 1983, Lee premiered in his first indie short film titled Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop. We Cut Heads. That's what it's named in. That's what it's named in. It says Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop. We Cut Heads. That's the film. It's a short film. It's an indie short film that he did. He was premiered in. Lee has submitted the film that he submitted as his master's degree thesis at the Tisch School of the Arts. That was in NYU. Lee's classmates Ang Lee and Ernest R. Dickens. That was it. And Ange Lee and who else was there? Ernest R. Dickerson. That's the guy who did the film work for Juice. That's the guy who did the film work for Juice in the early '90s. This is him. This guy is a screenwriter. This guy is a director, cinematographer, and screenwriter of film, TV, and music videos. That's what Spike Lee done. Okay, Ernest Dickerson might be one of them. Angela Lee might be one of them. Okay, they're both okay. Angela Lee and Ernest Dickerson. Angela Lee and Ernest Dickerson were like the classmates of Shelton Lee. Uh, well, they call him Spike. they're like they're working on the film as assistant director and cinematographer, respectively. The film was the first student film to be showcased in Lincoln Center's New Directors New Films Festival. Lee's father, that's the guy who was a jazz musician and a composer. Composed the score. The film won an Academy Award, the Student Academy Award, the SAA, the Student Academy Award. Until 1985, Lee began to work on his first feature film, She's Got to Have It, the black and white film. That was like a film. It was an old black and white film that was concerning a young woman who had to be portrayed by Tracy Camilla Johns. Well, remember this woman? I think this is before New Jack City. So this is before she was on New Jack City working with the likes of Wesley Snipes and Alan Payne. Yeah, the black and white film She's Got to Have It film the black and white film She's Got to Have It concerns a young woman who had been a role for Tracy Camilla Johns, uh, who's been featured on this movie, who is seeing three men and the feelings this arrangement, yeah, the feelings this arrangement provokes the film. Yeah, this arrangement, it is provoking. The film is the film is was Lee's first feature length film. It's the first feature length film that it's length. It was his film, his first feature length film. Spike Lee wanted to have that first feature film, that length film he had. It's launching. It's going to launch his career. Lee would start writing, directing, producing, starring, and editing the film with a budget of $175,000. And this is what Lee was shot. He would shoot the film in 2 weeks, where the film was released in 1986. You'll see old photos of my mom and my sister in happier times. And that film was grossing over $7 million at the box office in the United States box office. The NYT film critic A.O. Scott, the NY Times film critic A.O. Scott said this. He wrote that the film was so ushered along with Jim Jarmusch's Stranger in Paradise. Was it Stranger Than Paradise? Yeah, that's what's been ushered into. What did Il Scott do? He started writing that the film ushered in along with Jim Jarmusch's Stranger Than Paradise, the American indie film movement of the 80s. The American indie film movement of the 80s. It was a it was also a groundbreaking film for the African American filmmakers and a welcome change in the representation of blacks in American cinema, depicting men and women of color not as pimps and whores, not as pimps and not as pimps and not as whores. So they talk about it's all they start talking about pimps and whores, and they saying this. They don't say hoes, they said whores. All they say is about it says depicting men and women of color as pimps and whores, not as pimps and whores. That's what it says, not as pimps and whores, but as intelligent, upscale urbanities. In 1989, Lee perhaps made his most seminal film, Do the Right Thing. This is a movie that he was featured in. Do the Right Thing, as he was starred in. That could be his joint. That could be his joint right there. It was with Rosie Perez, Daniel Aiello, Bill Nunn. There was Bill Nunn, Daniel Aiello, Robin Harris, Martin Lawrence, Giancarlo Esposito. Rosie Perez was already been featured in the film, so I didn't even know that shit. Ossie Davis and Ruby D. Yeah, they're all in it. They're all in the film. They're all in the film. It's which focused on a Brooklyn neighborhoods simmering racial tension on a hot summer day. On a hot summer day, Boondocks, they're making fun of it. They're making complete fun of it in the 2000s. So I already mentioned all these people. But the film's cast included Lee himself, Danny Aiello, Bill Nunn, rest in peace, Ossie Davis, rest in peace, Ruby D, rest in peace. What's it, Ruby D? Ruby D, rest in peace. Giancarlo Esposito. Let me show you. Giancarlo Esposito. Yeah, that's the name. Giancarlo Esposito. He was he's already starred in Far Cry 6. Okay. But he was featured in movies like I think he was featured in School Days. I think he was working with Spike Lee in School Days. In School Days. I think he was working with Spike Lee in that movie. They're working with each other in School Days. This movie. Rosie Perez, remember her from Do the Right Thing? Remember her from Do the Right Thing and all this shit? He was on Do the Right Thing, working with Spike Lee, and he was working with Woody Harrelson on White Men Can't Jump and Fearless. He was on this movie called Fearless. John Turturro, John Michael Turturro is already in the movie. Uh, yeah, Martin Lawrence. Yeah, Marty Moore, man. Yeah, Marty Moore. Love the kids. Martin Lawrence. You know, this is before the Martin Show. He was on What's Happening in the late '80s. Well, What's Happening Now? He was featured on it in the late '80s, and he was guest appearing as the Maurice Warfield character. This is before Do the Right Thing and House Party and Martin. House Party 1, 2, and Martin. And Samuel L. Jackson. We'll push the name in. Yeah, the name Samuel L. Jackson. Well, stands for Leroy. L stands for Leroy. The film had gained critical acclaim as one of the best films of the year from the film critics, including both Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, who had ranked the film as the best of 1989, and later in their top 10 films of the decade. That's uh number 6 and 4 for Siskel and Ebert. Ebert later added that the film that let me say this. Let me say this the right way. Ebert later added the film. Yeah, that's what it is. He later added the film to his list of the great movies. The great movies. To many people's surprise, the film was not nominated for the Best Picture or Best Director at the Double A Academy Awards. At the Academy Awards Double A, the film only earned 2 Academy Awards nominations for the original Best Screenplay, the Best Original Screenplay that happened. Spike Lee, his first Oscar nomination, and for Best Supporting Actor for Danny Aiello. I remember him. I remember him from Harlem Nights and the Do the Right Thing movie. Remember him from that Do the Right Thing in Harlem Nights. You know, at the Academy ceremony, Kim Basinger. Remember her? Remember her from? Remember her from the Batman movie? She who was a presenter that evening that stated that the movie Do the Right Thing also deserved a Best Picture nomination, stating in Lewis says, we got 5 great films here, and they are great. They are great for one reason, because they tell the truth. But there is one film missing from this list, because ironically, it might tell the biggest truth of all, and that's Do the Right Thing. The film that did win the Best Picture, and it was one of the only film that did the win the Best Picture was the Driving Miss Daisy movie with Jessica Tandy and Morgan Freeman, Jessica Tandy and Dan Aykroyd. So a film that focused on race relations. Yeah, that's what it is. A film that so focusing on the race relations between an elderly Jewish woman, an old Jewish woman, portrayed by Jessica Tandy. Yeah, that's Jessica Ellis Tandy. Yeah, she played an old Jewish woman, and Morgan Freeman, who played the driver of the old Jewish woman that Tandy had portrayed. Lee said this in an April 7, 2006 interview with the New York magazine, that the other film's success, which that he thought was based on safe stereotypes, hurt him more than if his film had not been nominated for an award until the early 90s, until the early 1990s. After the 1990 release of Mo Better Blues, Lee was accused of anti-Semitism by the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and several film critics that criticized the characters of the club owners, the Flatbush brothers, the Flatbush brothers. I think it's called Joe and Mo Flatbush. Was it? Was it? Oh yeah, Josh and Mo Flatbush, described as Shylocks Lee. Described as Shylocks Lee denied the charge, explaining that he wrote those characters in order to depict how black artists struggle against exploitation. That happened in the 70s with the black exploitation thing. Mm. Lee said that Lou Wasserman, I said that Lou Wasserman, Sidney Sheinberg, Sidney Sheinberg, or Tom Pollock, the Jewish heads of MCA and Universal Studios, unlikely to allow anti-Semitic content in a film they produced. He said that he could not make an anti-Semitic film. Yeah, that's a word. He said that he could not make an anti-Semitic film because Jews run Hollywood, and that's a fact. And that's a fact. In '92, Spike released his biographical, what was it? Oh, that's what Spike Lee was doing. He said he's releasing a film. Malcolm X had to be a biographical film, epic film. It's based on the autobiography. It's based on the autobiography of Malcolm X. Check this book out. Check this book out. The autobiography of Malcolm X. Who had to be Malcolm Shabazz. Well, that's a book that's after Roots. That's before Roots. Alex Haley had done. It was out around there posthumously after the Malcolm X's assassination. Starring Denzel Washington as the famed civil rights leader. Yeah, that's what Denzel Washington played. He played. That's what happened. Let me explain this to you. Malcolm X is based on the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was starring Denzel Washington as the famed civil rights leader. The film dramatizes key events in Malcolm X's life, his criminal career, his incarceration, his conversion to Islam, his ministry as the member of the Nation of Islam, and his later falling out with the organization, his marriage to Betty Shabazz, who had to be Betty X. His pilgrimage to Mecca, and the reevaluation of his views concerning whites and his assassination on February 21st, 1965. Yeah, in February 21st of 1965, defining childhood incidents, including his father's death, his mother's illness, because of the death of his father and his mother's mental illness, and his experiences with racism, are dramatized in flashbacks. The film received widespread critical acclaim, including from critic Roger Ebert, ranking the film was like number one. He ranked the film like number one on his top 10 list for '92, and he's describing the film as one of the great screen biographies, celebrating the sweep of the American life that bottomed out in prison before its hero reinvented himself. Ebert and Martin Scorsese, who was sitting in for Late at the Movies co-host Gene Siskel. Gene Siskel. Yeah, they're both sitting in late at the movies coast Gene Siskel. They're sitting for him. They both ranking that Malcolm X among the 10 best films of the '90s. Denzel Washington, his portrayal of Malcolm X in particularly in particular was widely praised, and he was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor. Poor and now and then now I gotta be dealing with this shit. See Denzel, he's losing an Academy Award to Al Pacino. This guy, he lost it to Al Pacino, who's been known for playing the character uh, Tony Montana in Scarface. In Scarface, you know, Al Pacino got featured in a movie called Scent of a Woman, a decision which the lead was criticizing, saying that I'm not the only one who thinks Denzel was robbed in that one. That's like that's his key words. I'm not the only one who thinks Denzel was robbed on that one. In his 97 documentary, Four Little Girls. Four Little Girls. It was a 97 documentary that he did in the late 90s about the girls killed in 16th Street Baptist Church bombing in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963, in the 1960s. It was nominated for the Academy Award for the Best Feature Documentary in the late 2010s. The film was so selected for that the preservation that he picked. Why they selected the film, it got selected for the preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, the Library of Congress, as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. In the early 2000s, we go find this out. Spike Lee, he started directing The 25th Hour, starring Edward Norton, Philip Seymour Hoffman, which opened to positive reviews with several critics since having named it one of the best films of its decade. Film critic Roger Ebert added the film to his great movies list on December 16th, 2009. A.O. Scott, Richard Roper, and Roger Ebert, they put it all on the line. They all put it on their best films, their quote unquote best films of the decade lists. It was later named the 26th greatest film since 2000 in a BBC poll of 177 critics. 177 critics that the film was also a financial success and is earning almost $24 million on a $5 million budget. In '06, Lee directed Inside Man with Denzel Washington, Jodie Foster from Silence of the Lambs, and Clive Owen. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Chiwetel Ejiofor, that's the name of Willem Dafoe, and Christopher Plummer. I remember him. I remember so much about him. He's like a Canadian actor. He's like a Canadian actor. The film was an unusual film for Lee, considering it was a studio heist thriller. The film was. Let me tell you about this film. The film was a critical and financial success, earning $186 million off $45 million budget. Empire gave the film 4 stars, like 4 stars out of 5, including it's certainly a Spike Lee film. That's his stuff. Spike Lee, probably his shit. His shit was so fucking being panned out to be put together. I don't even care for it. I don't much even care for it until I knew it why. This has been said like this. It's certainly a Spike Lee is us word is. It's certainly a Spike Lee film, but no Spike Lee joint. Still, he's delivered a pacey, vigorous, and frequently masterful take on a well-worn genre, thanks to some slick. Well, that's the word. See it's the word that they use on the games. Thanks to some slick work. Was it? Thanks to some slick ones. Was it? Thanks to some slick lens work and a cast on cracking form, Lee proves perhaps above all to himself that playing it straight, as we says, that playing it straight is not always a bad thing. On May 2nd of 2007, the 50th San Francisco International Film Festival has honored him, and Spike Lee. He got honored with the San Francisco Film Society's Directing Award in '08. In 2008, he received a Wexner Prize. And later in 2013, he won the Dorothy and Lillian Gish Prize. That's a prize named after Dorothy and Lillian Gish. One of the richest prizes in the American arts that are worth $300,000. In 2015, he received an Academy Honorary Award from the Academy of Hannibal. I'm doing a story. In 2015, Lee received an American Honorary Award from the Academy of the Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for his contributions to film. Friends and frequent collaborators like Wesley Snipes, Denzel Washington, and Samuel L. Jackson presented Lee with the award at the Private Governors Awards ceremony. The Private Governors Awards ceremony. That's what we heard of. Lee was the one that started directing, writing. Yeah, Lee was directing, writing, and producing the My Career Story mode in the NBA 2K16 video game. The NBA, yeah, the NBA 2K16 video game. The video game, yeah, that's a video game. The video game that was already out. Some like video game that was out like 2015. Um, NBA 2K16. That's the video game. That's the video game that's probably out for systems. Later that same year, at a perceived long dip in the quality, Lee was rebounding with a musical drama film. It's called Chirac. It's called Chirac. The film is a modern day adaptation of the ancient Greek play called Lysistrata. Was it? Lysistrata. Was it? Lysistrata? Was it? Lysistrata? That's the name? Lysistrata? That's some Greek name. That's a Greek ass name I heard. Lysistrata by Aristophanes. Aristophanes. That's the word. Aristophanes. Set in the modern day Chicago's South Side, and exploring the challenges of race, sex, and violence in the American soil. In the American soil, bro. Got names of people that was on this film. Tiana Paris is in there. Tiana Paris is in one. Angela Bassett. Remember her from Boys in the Hood. Remember her from Boys in the Hood and What's Love Got to Do with It. She was featured on this movie. Jennifer Hudson. She was known for being on the Dreamgirls movie, and then she came out with her solo album, came out her first debut album, which that critically uh went gold or platinum. I don't even much know what happened to that album. I think I kept that album. Nicholas Cannon. Yeah, Nicholas Scott Cannon. You know, David Cowey Weber Chappelle. Wesley Trent Snipes. John Paul Cusack, and Samuel Leroy Jackson. Starred in a film, and it was so released by the likes of Amazon Studios in select cities. In selected cities in November, Chirac had received generally positive reviews from the critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a rating of 82%, with the site's critical consensus stating Chirac is as urgently topical and satisfyingly ambitious as it is wildly uneven, and it contains some of Lee's smartest, sharpest, and the all-round entertaining late period work. His film in 2018, Black Klansman, yeah, Black Klansman. There's three Ks. A true crime drama, a true crime drama that was so set in the 70s, centering around the true story of a black police officer by the name of Ron Stallworth. Yeah, Ron Stallworth, the true story of a cop, okay, a black cop, Ronald Stallworth, yeah, a black police officer who was infiltrating the KKK. It means the Ku Klux Klan. But people, all you viewers, do not quote me on that. These Ku Klux Klan guys, they started burning shit, they started burning down shit and everything else. These guys hate blacks. I don't get it. They want to hate blacks so goddamn much, and they want to fight for their race. But you'll see the Mississippi burning. You see the Mississippi burning movie, or whatever you go watch it, or the Burning Bed. The film, the film premiered at the 2000 in the 2018 Cannes Film Festival, where it won the GP, the Grand Prix, and it's in its opening the following August. The film is receiving near universal praise when it's opened in North America, receiving a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. 96%. What the critics' consensus rating Black Klansman. It says Black Klansman uses history to offer bitingly trenchant commentary on current events, and brings out some of Spike Lee's hardest hitting work in decades along the way. In 2019, during the awards during the awards season, leading up to the Academy Awards, is the Academy Awards trophy here. Lee was invited to join a directors roundtable conversation run by the HR, the Hollywood Reporter. It's the HR for short. The roundtable included Ryan Coogler, Yorgos Lanthimos, Yorgos Lanthimos, Alfonso Cuarón, Mario Heller, and Bradley Cooper. It was nominated for the Academy Award for the Best Picture and Best Director. Well, I'm not going to read any more of this because it'll take up all my space. I'll do it TV series style. Lee won his first competitive Academy Award in the category Best Adapted Screenplay. There's the lady. There's the lady. That could be this woman. When asked by the journalists, as was asked by them, the journalists from the BBC if the Best Picture winner Green Green Book Green Book offended him. Lee replied, "Let me give you a British answer. It's not my cup of tea." Many journalists in the industry noted how the 2019 Oscars, with Black Klansmen competing against the eventual winner, Green Book, mirrored the 1989 Oscars with Do the Right Thing. Yes, with Do the Right Thing was Lee's film, missing out on a Best Picture nomination over the eventual winner, Driving Miss Daisy, with Freeman and Tandy and Aykroyd. Lee's Vietnam War film, The Five Bloods, released on Netflix. The film was starred with Delroy Lindo from Crooklyn, Jonathan Majors on the new Creed 3 movie, Clark Peters. Well, everybody knew him. Everybody knew him. Isaiah Whitlock. Yeah, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Melanie Theory. She's French. Paul Walter Hauser. This a guy who showed up on AEW Dynamite. This guy showed up on AEW television. Look, this guy shows up on the guest on AEW television. He gets fucking jumped by by Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, and Sanjay Dutt for no fucking reason. He got jumped by Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett. He was known to play as the Richard Jewell character. They beat his ass for no reason. They jumped him for no reason, and that's why he got stretchered out of the building. Also, they stole that man's Oscar though. They wouldn't stole that man's Oscar. And another guy who's still resting in peace, right now, who's still resting in peace, Chadwick Boseman, who's still resting in peace. The film was released on June 12th. Well, that's prior to the death of Elvis Presley's grandson. On June 12th, 2020, the film was released worldwide. The Five Bloods. The film's plot follows a group of aging Vietnam War veterans. Yeah, the Vietnam War veterans, the aging ones. Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he's seeing. That's what they're telling you. The film's plot follows a group of aging veterans, the aging Vietnam War veterans. Yeah, who returned to the country in search of the remains of their fallen squad leader, their leader of the squad, as well as the treasure they buried while serving there. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, prior to the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic, the film was originally scheduled to premiere out of competition at the 2020 Cannes Film Festival. Yeah, the 2020 Cannes Film Festival. They'd play in theaters in May or June before streaming on Netflix. The film received widespread critical acclaim, with the website Rotten Tomatoes approval rating being 92% based on the 252 reviews, with the critical consensus rating fierce energy and ambition course through the five bloods coming together to fuel one of Spike Lee's most urgent and impactful films. Yeah, they call that film. They call that film like most urgent and impactful. Yeah, most urgent and impactful. That's the impact they have in that film. On Metacritic, let's see this shit. Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 82 out of 100 based on 49 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Lee's next project will be a movie musical about the origin story of Viagra, Pfizer's erectile dysfunction drug. Most recently, he had signed an overall deal with Netflix to direct and produce newer movies. Let's go to academic career and teaching. That's going to be a movie set. In the early 1990s, Lee taught a course at Harvard about filmmaking in 1993. He began to teach at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. Yes, Tisch School of the Arts, where I asked you about it, why I told you. Uh, in the graduate film program, it was there that he received his Master of Fine Arts. In 2002, he was appointed as the artistic director of the school. He is now a tenured professor at NYU. In mid 1990 in commercials, Levi's have hired Lee to direct a series of TV commercials for their 501 button fly jeans. Marketing execs from Nike offered Lee a job directing commercials for the company. They wanted they wanted to pair Lee's character, Morris Blackman. Morris Blackman, you might remember him from She's Got to Have It, who greatly admired athlete Michael Jordan. And Jordan in a marketing, well, that's what happened. Yeah, Morris Blackman. This guy has been admiring guys like Michael Jordan. No, who he's been an athlete, and Jordan is in a campaign, a marketing campaign for the Air Jordan line. The Air Jordan line. No, later Lee was asked. Lee was asked. They're asking Lee to comment on the phenomenon of violence related to inner city youths trying to steal Air Jordans from other kids. That's thievery. That's thievery right there. I hated that shit. They want to steal shoes out of motherfuckers' feet. Those motherfucking kids don't have nothing else. They have no money to get their own shoes. Yeah, from other kids. He said that rather than blaming manufacturers of apparel that gain popularity, deal with the conditions that make a kid put so much importance on a pair of sneakers and a jacket in gold. Through the marketing wing of 40 Acres in the Mule, Lee has directed commercials for Converse, Jaguar, Taco Bell, and Ben and Jerry's. The artistic style and themes, his films, his films are typically referred as the Spike Lee joints. The closing credits are always end with the phrases "by any means necessary," "you dig," and "show enough." My cousins are learning all this from this man. My cousin's been learning all this shit from Spike Lee. Like, you dig. Pimp C learned all this shit. He learned it too. He learned this shit too. My cousin learned all this shit from Pimp C. Pimp C learned it. Pimp C learned this shit from Spike Lee. My cousin learned it too from Spike Lee as well. These are phrases that Spike Lee used. He ended those credits. They closed them always in the closing credits. He always end with the phrases like "by any means necessary." That's Spike Lee's. That's Spike's stuff. That's his shit. You dig? That's his shit. And show enough. And show enough. That's his shit. My grandfather must have learned Must have learned all this from Spike Lee too. Half of my family learned it from Spike Lee, and Pimp C learned it from him. Show enough. That's a word. Show enough. Uh, yeah, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg had must have learned it from had used that word. Lee's 2013 film Old Boy. Old Boy is used the traditional a Spike Lee film, a film that he credited after the producers had it re-edited. The themes, let me show you this shit. Lee's films have examined race relations, colorism in the black community, the role of media in the contemporary life. Yeah, let me go use the word contemporary life, urban crime and poverty, and other political issues. His films are also duly noted for their unique stylistic elements, including the use of dolly shots to portray the characters like the word floating through their surroundings, which he has had his cinematographers repeatedly use in his work. In 2018, during an interview with GQ, he has cited some of the favorite films that he did. Elia Kazan's On the Waterfront in the 50s, A Face of the Crowd, as well as Martin Scorsese's Mean Streets in the 70s. Lee says that he befriended Scorsese by attending a screening of After Hours at NYU. At NYU. No, that's all film out. It's all his work. It's all his film. It's all his work too, from the 80s to the 2020s. So we're gonna go up there. Let me go up there. Let me go up there, and we're gonna end this with we end with this. Shelton Jackson Spike Lee is an American filmmaker and actor. Lee's work has continually explored race relations within the black community, the role of media in contemporary life, urban crime and poverty, and other political issues. He has won numerous accolades for his work, including an Academy Award, a student Academy Award. Respect when he was a student Academy Award, two Primetime Emmy Awards, a BAFTA Award, and two Peabody Awards. Yeah, Peabody. Honored. He has also been honored with the honorary BAFTA Award in 2002 and an honorary Caesar in 2003. The Academy, the AHA, the Academy Honorary Award in 2019, and a gala tribute from the Film Society of Lincoln Center, as well as the Dorothy and Lillian Gish Prize. His production company, 40 Acres in the Mule Filmworks, has produced more than 35 films since 1983. Since 1983, he's had produced more than 35 films. When he made his directorial debut with She's Got to Have It, has since he has since written and directed such films as School Days. This is the movie School Days. Do the right thing, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, Crooklyn. Yeah, these are the names. School Days, it's the names. School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, Crooklyn, Clockers, 25th Hour, Inside Man, Chirac, Black Klansman, and the Five Bloods. Lee has also acted in 11 of his feature films. His films have featured breakthrough and acclaimed performance acclaimed performances from and acclaimed performances from the actors such as the people that he was working with, Denzel Washington, Lawrence Fishburne, Samuel Leroy Jackson, Giancarlo Esposito, Rosie Perez, Delroy Lindo, and John David Washington. Yeah, John David Washington. What's this guy's name? Look at this guy's name, man. John David Washington. These films. Let me show you this shit. I forgot. These films. These films. Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, Four Little Girls, and She's Got to Have It were each selected by the Library of Congress for the preservation in the NFR for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. That's why I'm done with the shit too. All right, I'm done. I'm done. That's like an hour. That's like an hour of this show here. Yeah, that's all it. I'm about to be on hiatus again. I'm about to be on hiatus until I be back in April. See you guys in April.